Honestly, it's like one of the hardest engineering problems I've ever worked on. You don't see a lot of articulating weapons in the battle box, and there's a good reason for it.
Our entire electronic system was probably under $600 in the whole robot.
You have to assume that the other guy's always going to have everything working.
Did you expect anything like that going into this fight?
We know it was going to hit hard. We just didn't think it was going to hit like that.
Today, we're talking to the rookie Jackpot and the veteran Ghost Raptor.
On this episode of
Behind the Battle.
All right, everybody, we're on with Chuck from Ghost Raptor. We're on with Jeff Waters from Team Jackpot. Chuck, really quick, tell me how you got started in robotics.
I knew I was going to do engineering, but I didn't know exactly where I was going to go. And, you start seeing these things on Discovery Channel, like the old MIT competitions and things like that. And then Robot Wars hit, and that was the bomb, right? It's like, oh, yeah. That's what we're going to do. In the early days, we were trying to get ready for Robot Wars. And then, of course, Robot Wars got canceled. And then we tried to do all these underground things. And there were some early competitions, but nothing really took off until BattleBots hit the scene.
That's awesome. So it kind of hit you at an early age. I'm hearing that from a lot of drivers and team captains, that it hit them from an early age. They're watching this thing on TV. They're like, I want to do that. I want to smash a robot. And so then it literally just everything falls into place. You
got to remember, like back, say late 80s or so, they didn't have any of the early high school robotics programs or anything like that. So we kind of had to find our own thing to do.
I want to start with how you got started in robotics.
I started in robotics around high school. It was freshman year. We did a little bit of, actually, VEX. It was around 10 years ago. 2009 season, I started on that. The whole club fell apart, and I was the only one left on that last senior year, so I kind of just ran the whole everything on the team for that last senior year. It worked out well, but we made it to regionals.
Heck yeah. That's awesome.
I was actually helping a high school team with what they were doing for a team this year, but that all came to a climb around March when they shut the schools down out here. I was like 3 weeks into it, then all this happened.
Oh my gosh.
But after high school, I didn't really touch any robot stuff until I started getting to combat bots. But in the meantime, I did RC racing. That's where I learned a lot of my driving and stuff that you would see on the show. The other thing that I picked up a lot is I did drone racing, which has a lot of the similar components to the smaller weight classes. So when I did eventually build my first Beetle in 2018, I knew mostly what I was doing offhand.
So your combat robotics career started after your high school experiences with VEX, and you jumped into Beetle weights, right?
Yes. Actually, my Beetle that I first competed with is actually behind me. I can grab it real quick. This was Wumbo, which was heavily inspired by Huge. But imagine the wheel on the other side, but it's rough, as you can see. It's missing an eye. I had to Sharpie it back on.
Where did the idea for the Team Raptor logo come from?
I'm going to get a lot of flack for this. So anyways, I've always been fascinated by saber-toothed cats. I was already kind of married to the Raptor thing from years back, right? Mm-hmm. So the new logo just came from me walking through a museum one day. I'm like, man, we could really do some art with that. That would be awesome. I'd love to do a logo with that. Because, of course, a saber-toothed cat and a raptor does not match. It doesn't match, but
sure,
it does make a great logo. It was just, just a fascination I had with this kind of like really aggressive animal. It's got oversized weapons on it, which kind of fits with, the first 2 seasons of what Ghost Raptor was, right?
Yeah.
A huge weapon bar, and it just totally did not make sense. Well, let's talk about how the spinning articulated bar came about.
Yes, please.
Can we do this? Because honestly, it's like one of the hardest engineering problems I've ever worked on. You don't see a lot of articulating weapons in the battle box, and there's a good reason for it, because it's just, you add extra complexity. My biggest thing was I wanted to get that weapon working for 3 minutes. And it's just been plaguing me the entire time I've had Ghost Raptor, getting it working for a solid 3 minutes without something just radically either failing or or it going out of balance or something like that.
Tell me about your beetle weight career.
My main beetle weight is not Wumbo anymore. I just bring Wumbo with me because it's a fun robot to fly around with. My main one is Off Track, which sits right behind me. So this is Off Track. Off Track is a tracked drum spinner.
Oh, cool.
This is what I wanted to do as a heavyweight, but it's more complex than what Jackpot was, and Jackpot was, it was a budget build. 2, Jackpot was built in 4 weeks. And the third one is Jackpot is a collaborative bot between the rest of the Vegas Combat Robotics members. So we wanted something that was more our robot than my robot.
It sounds like Jackpot kind of sprang out of nowhere. What's the story?
I was originally on Malice.
Mm-hmm.
And I was talking with David Lau and David Rush when I was at an event in Texas. I just bring up, hey, let's build a heavyweight. We realized we can build Jackpot for really cheap with through laser cutting, through Syncut Sand, through these motors that we found that are crazy cheap. Our motors are only $40 a piece. Our ESCs are $45. Our entire electronic system was probably under $600 in the whole robot. The way Jackpot is super efficient is we don't have any belt tensioners on it. That's one of the things, so you don't have to worry about the weight from that. We don't have any gearboxes in it. It's all direct. So our weapon motor assembly has 2 in the front, then 2 in the back, chained together on the outside via sprocket with a number 35 chain, which is bicycle chain. then an aluminum tube over the 2 outrunners in the front that connects those 2 together, so they all 4 are linked together. Then that sleeve acts as the pulley for the weapon.
So everything's tied to itself, and it all is somehow able to operate simultaneously and independently of each other.
Yes.
Whoa.
So they're all hard mechanically. So if you rotate one, it's going to rotate all 4.
Dude, that's sweet.
It's very, very simple. It shouldn't work. It does. Another thing that people worry about as an entry level thing is cost barrier. And I'll say both Jackpots, because there was 2 frames and parts. And I'd say everything we brought down there was probably under 10 grand.
You're back in season 5. What was it like for you to step back into the battle box?
I mean, coming back to season 5, it was really intimidating.
Yeah.
I think what's happened is the sport has evolved and I haven't evolved with it, right? So I show up and, I'm seeing these, young teams, new teams I hadn't even heard of. And, some of them just looked rock solid. I'm like, man, this is not season 1. So you look at some of the season 5 robots, it's every one of those would have been a top 4 robot. Every one of them would have been a top 4 robot back at season 1. You look at some of the guys that you expect to do well over and over again. Mm-hmm. Tombstone is a good example.
Sure.
And you see them show up in their first fight, they're having trouble with some of these guys. And it's, okay, well, those are supposed to be the easy fights, especially for someone like a veteran like Tombstone.
Sure.
Jackpot, and can we talk about the Jackpot fight now?
Oh yeah, so totally.
Okay,
so
Jackpot had a tough first fight. They didn't do that well. We felt pretty fortunate to get paired up with them because they were having drive system problems. And I kept going into the test arena and I would see them drive around. I'm like, these guys can't even get the robot moving. I'm like, this is going to be, it's going to be a powder puff fight, right? I mean, it's going to be easy.
The issue we were worried about is we were still fighting gremlins. We tore the whole robot down to the frame. We were having high centering issues. So that was causing us to not drive very well. We were told the new floor was immaculate. Mm-hmm. So we made our robot very low, beetle weight low. And it didn't end up working out. So we had to modify the robot to accept 5-inch wheels instead of 4-inch wheels because they don't make 4.5-inch wheels. So going into the Ghost Raptor fight, we knew that our forks weren't going to work. So we took the forks off and we changed up our whole strategy of we're not going to try playing the ground game anymore. We're just going to ram into them with the weapon, kind of like how Yeti does.
The weapon was kind of scary, but I didn't see anything that was like that scary.
Mm-hmm.
I think it was just taking a lot of things for granted. Coming into that fight thinking, okay, well, this is not going to be a big deal. That wasn't the case. Somehow they managed to get their system working. Apparently it was only, going to work for about a minute. Whatever the case, it didn't take a minute.
We got the weapon at the speed and we rushed them. And that's when we got our first big hit on it. It was weapon to weapon. And I believe that's when we bent our blade a little bit. We backed up. For some reason, I think their drive pod locked up. I think it was due to that first initial shock. We hit them really in the back, and they spun around. And we went ahead and hit them head on again. Yeah, we decapitated them.
You uppercut the weapon and just take that thing clean off, right?
Yeah, we broke their weapon shaft.
Dude.
I can't wait to see the footage. I want to see how high that thing went. They turn, we clip in the corner, and we split their drive pod off. Then the whole thing splits into two pieces and launches into the corner.
So you basically ripped this bot to shreds.
We ripped them into two pieces.
Did you expect anything like that going into this fight?
We know it was going to hit hard. We just didn't think it was going to hit like that.
It's one of those things with BattleBots. Sometimes if you take too many things for granted and you look at the other guy too much, you forget about, what you need to do to get yourself ready. And I think that is one of the perfect examples of that. It's, it worked out to be probably the worst fight I've ever had. I mean, in terms of just like not being prepared, maybe not watching the tapes, and also not really thinking about what I need to do in the worst case scenario that he has everything working. You have to assume the other guy's always going to have everything working.
Looking back on these fights and things that you think you've done right and wrong, do you think these are going to influence your career for Ghost Raptor in the future, like next season?
Yeah, I mean, Ghost Raptor's not going anywhere. I mean, you get this emotionally attached to a concept, and it's hard to let go. In my mind, in some ways, this almost become, Ghost Raptor has almost become a hobby. It's not really, okay, well, it's going to take everything. It's going to, be the dominant robot. It's like, What can I do to make it work? And that's what I just want to make it work. I want to make it, and like I said before, I want to make it work for 3 minutes solid. I want the weapon to work solid. I want it to be able to, dish out plenty of hits without breaking itself. I don't want to burn up motors. So, Ghost Raptor is going to stick around. It's going to be there, and I'll take what I learned, and we'll make the best of it the next season.
Chuck, this has been amazing. Thank you so much, and we'll talk to you very soon.
Okay, cheers.
So, Jeff Waters, it has been awesome talking to you about Jackpot and the amazing, trials that you've gone through this season. It's been great talking to you. Thank you so much. See ya.
See you, man.
Join us next time for more exclusive interviews on the Vex Robotics channel, and make sure you like and subscribe so you don't miss a second of the action. Thanks for watching.